Hello everyone, good afternoon. Myself Dijeesh Padinharethi, Director of Engineering at Sedai. Today I have my fellow colleague Sreejith also here with me. We are both joining from Sedai India Development Center and we are both working on research and development activities of Sedai Autonomous Cloud Management Platform. Today we will be sharing some exciting knowledge around cloud storage services and unlocking the cost and performance. Sorry. Today, we are going to share some exciting knowledge about optimizing cloud storage services and unlocking cost and performance gains with autonomous management. From our experience, we all know that storage is one of the most critical pillar in our application stack. Most of us are working with data, using data, and around data. From the moment we wake up and until the moment we fall into sleep, we are generating lots of data. And this data is very critical, and we have to make sure that this data is stored in very secure and efficiently, and they are available at any time whenever we need it. So managing this data storage is very critical, and it's one of the major headache for each and every SREs in the world. In this session, we will walk you through cloud storage solutions and challenges that you may face when you are running cloud storage services at scale and how Sedai can autonomously help you to optimize it. Cloud storage simply means storing, accessing, and maintaining storage in the cloud. Here, you don't need to worry about the physical infrastructure. Earlier, we were setting up our own data centers and maintaining the data and servers for storing the data. With today, we are in the cloud era, moving all the workloads into cloud and moving the data also into the clouds. You don't need to worry about operational parts. Everything is managed by cloud service provider, and you don't need to worry about the capital expenditure also. Everything will be taken care by the cloud service provider. You just need to provision the services, use it, and pay as you go. If you look at the cloud storage landscape, almost all cloud service provider will be providing varieties of services for you. Take a look at the AWS. AWS is providing Amazon S3, one of the best object storage service in the world. Amazon EPS, one of the best block storage service in the cloud. Amazon EFS, FSS, file storage services in the cloud. Just like AWS, GCP, Azure, and all other cloud service providers will be providing many services under the categories of object storage, file storage, and block storage. As an administrator or as an SRE, one of the challenges that you may going to face is selecting the right service for your right workload. And if you are using block storage, provisioning the right amount of storage volume for your workload or setting up the right IOPS for your workload. And the most critical or most challenging one is choosing the right metric on based on which you are taking action and on your storage services. If you're running a small workload or if you're taking care of a single tenant, it might be very easy for you. But when you doing at a large scale, things will be very difficult. We are not going to going through all these services today. We will be picking up one of the service widely used by the enterprises, and all the remaining talk will be based on this particular service. We are choosing Amazon S3, one of the most popular object storage service in the cloud. And as you already know, people are using it for varieties of services. Take any of the cloud services, any of the SaaS solutions, most of the solutions will be using S3 as a backend storage. People are using it for data storage, big data analytics, content distribution, log storage and analytics, data migrations and replications, and IoT and data storage. In use cases, S3 will be one of the best solutions for your workload. S3 is one of the first storage service also announced by AWS. If, like I mentioned earlier, if you're running a small workload, it should be fine. Most of us might be started with one or two S3 buckets and grown into tens and hundreds of S3 buckets over a period of time. If you take taking into an account of an enterprise customer, they might be having thousands and thousands of S3 buckets and storing petabytes of data in the cloud. If you are managing data at that scale, these are some operational challenges that you may face. And the most important two items are cost management and data lifecycle management. And AWS do provide a couple of recommendations. And if you are following, you can actually optimize it. But if you are running at a large scale with thousands of S3 buckets, an individual human or a group of humans cannot be able to handle it properly. This is the place where Sedai, an autonomous platform, can help you. Data is growing like ever. You might be already noticed that generative AI is taking up and how much data it should be using to produce the result that you want. Once again, data is growing faster than ever, and we have been working with many enterprise customers. Most of the enterprise customers we are working with, we are optimizing their modern application stacks. With modern application, what I mean is we are optimizing their serverless applications and containerized applications. And most of the customers came back to us and asked, you guys are doing a great job in the modern applications world. Can you help us to optimize the storage workloads as well? Because they are paying a huge amount for storage in the cloud. With the help of few huge fintech partners that we have today, we are announcing Sedai Autonomous Storage Optimization. It's public preview today. From today onwards, if you are an existing customer of Sedai, you can configure Sedai Autonomous Optimization for storage in your dashboard. Or if you are a customer who is looking at some solution for this one, storage optimization, here is the right choice for you. Sign up for Sedai at sedai.io. In the next couple of slides, Sreejith will walk you through how Sedai is optimizing storage solution Amazon S3 autonomously. Over to you, Sreejith.
Hey, thank you, Dijeesh. Hi, everyone. So now that Dijeesh has taken us through the various cloud storage options and the challenges that we are facing, let's see what kind of solutions can we bring in to solve some of these challenges. So when many customers start with this C, their initial requirements will be fulfilled by a small number of buckets, say a handful of buckets. But over the years, the requirements grow in ways that we would have never imagined. And suddenly, one fine day, you'll end up having tens of thousands of buckets with millions of objects in it. Now, imagine configuring all these buckets to its optimal configuration. It's almost impossible to configure these individually, manually, or even an automated system will be won't be able to handle this kind of scale to optimize all the buckets and configure all this properly. That is where an autonomous system helps here. So instead of manually handling all these buckets, let's leave that job to an autonomous system so that it can take care of configuring all these buckets individually into its optimal configuration. But how do we achieve it? How does an autonomous system can take care of it? Before we delve into the details, can you next slide? Let's take a small detour and understand a key concept in S3 storage called storage classes. So storage classes are purpose built to provide lowest cost storage for different access patterns. So when S3 initially started some 10-15 years back, there was only one storage class called standard, and irrespective of whether you are using it for archiving or whether you are using it for instant retrieval, your rate of storage was constant. And over the period of all these 10-15 years, AWS has identified different ways in which S3 is being used and came up with these different access patterns, storage classes. So the key thing to use when you configure an S3 bucket is to choose the right storage class. So for example, one of the parameters that we can consider is the access frequency. So sometimes you'll be accessing a bucket a couple of times a month. That means it's very frequent. maybe once in a month, once in a quarter, or once in a year. So that is one parameter that we can consider. Then what is the level of data retrieval latency that you can afford? So when you retrieve or request data from S3, can you wait for a couple of hours, or do you need the data in millisecond latency? That is the performance requirement that you will have to look at. Then is it okay to have it stored only in one availability zone rather than in multiple availability zones? So the availability issue, what kind of availability do we need? And how long do we need to store this information? That is a durability. So based on these parameters, we'll have to choose the right storage class. So on the left end of the spectrum, you have the standard storage class, which is optimized for data retrieval with milliseconds data retrieval latency. And on the right end of the spectrum, you have S3 Glacier Deep Archive, which is optimized for storage. That is, per GB storage cost is very less compared to standard. But at the same time, if you want to retrieve something from S3 Glacier, it is costlier. So based on your requirement, you'll have to choose the right storage class. And another storage class is intelligent tiering. It's not a storage class per se. It's a layer of intelligence on top of the existing storage classes that Amazon has brought in. So in this storage class, Amazon will monitor your objects, look at its access patterns, and move your object into one of the previously defined storage classes. So the AWS has to do an additional work of monitoring your objects. So for that purpose, it will charge you an additional charge of monitoring cost. So that is what is meant by the intelligent tiering. So now that, if you, next slide, please. Now that we know the different storage classes, let's see how that information can be used and fed into an autonomous system so that it can take care of configuring all your buckets at scale. So the first thing that it would do is observe the access patterns of your bucket and the individual objects. And this information can be sourced from CloudWatch metrics, from storage lens metrics, and even from server access logs, which will give access information at an individual object level. So this will help us to identify what kind of access pattern does this bucket or this set of objects has. Is that predictable or is that unpredictable? If it is predictable, then we can put that object or bucket into the appropriate storage class based on the parameters that we have discussed in the previous slide. If it's unpredictable, the best thing to do would be to hand it over to intelligent tiering, because you don't know, there is no predictable pattern. So we don't know the storage class to choose. So let intelligent tiering takes care of it. Intelligent tiering observes and monitors this object continuously and moves it into the appropriate storage class. So even with that additional monitoring cost, it will still be cheaper than keeping all your objects in the standard storage class. That's what we have found out. And this is not a one-time thing. The system has to monitor all the buckets continuously and adapts to the different access patterns that it sees from time to time and make this movement. Next slide. So this is a sample screen from our Sedai application where we can see what kind of cost benefits we are able to bring in by employing this autonomous management of S3 buckets. So for one of the accounts, we can see that approximately 30% cost savings is there. We are able to bring in 30% cost savings by configuring the buckets autonomously. And on the right hand side, we can see that currently the bucket is in, this is the recommendation for a specific bucket. Currently, the bucket is having standard storage class, and what we are recommending is to move this into the intelligent tiering. The reason is simple. So if you look at the total number of objects and the number of objects that are frequently accessed, the percentage of objects that are frequently accessed is very less compared to the total number of objects. So we can also see what is the cost when it is in standard storage class, and after we make this movement, what is the savings that we are making. So even after that additional monitoring cost, it is still cheaper than keeping all the objects in the standard storage class. So once you enable autonomous mode for this bucket, Sedai will take care of you this transition. Sedai will do this transition for you so that from the very next month onwards, you'll be able to see the cost benefits. So yeah, that's it. That's what I wanted to present today, a solution for some of the problems that Dijeesh has mentioned. Thank you for joining the session. So let's work together towards optimizing cloud storage. Thank you.